Okay, thanks everyone for joining in today's discussion. Welcome all to the very special session on securing Indian enterprises in the digital era. Essentially, we are joined by the who's who of enterprise security, Dr. Dittin, scientist, cybersecurity group at C-DAC Trivandrum, Georgie, who is a CISO and business head at SecnSure and president of ISACA Trivandrum chapter, and Chetan Anand, who's the CEO and co-founder at SecnSure. So just to give you all some background about our speakers today, Dr. Dittin is scientist at C-DAC Trivandrum. He has contributed to various flagship projects from IT and Ministry of Electronics and IT and Controller of Certifying Authority CCA. And he's also worked with the DST on many of the projects as a co-investigator and principal investigator. He also importantly architected the India's first governmental sector security operations sector for managed security services and provided cyber consultancy and audit services for numerous organizations including Canara Bank, Indian Navy, and BSNL, and many others. So Dr. Andrews also coordinated C-DAC corporate training programs for government agencies and is a member of several expert committees such as Software Technology Parks of India and Kerala Police. He also represented in India in Indo-African ICT activities and holds over 5 publications and various industry certifications. So welcome, Dr. Dittin, for today's discussion.
Yeah, thank you, Teja.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you on. And next, we have Mr. Georgie. Georgie is CISO and business head at
SecnSure.
SecnSure, and president at Isaka Trivandrum chapter, has over 2 decades of working experience in information security, data privacy, and IT risk management. He started his career at Keltron and then ISRO before moving to corporate sector. Georgie excels in developing risk-based security systems and balance compliances with agility, which is quite important in this day and age with ever-evolving regulations and whatnot. And he's a speaker at several international conferences and an accredited trainer for CISA, CISM, and CRISE. And he also serves as an honorary Commodore at Kerala Police Cyberdome, dedicated to enhancing cybersecurity awareness among the masses. So welcome, Georgie, to this discussion. And
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's such an honor having you. And we have Chetan Anand. Chetan Anand is quite well known to us. So he's the founder and CEO of SecnSure, in a DSA incubated startup specializing in risk and compliance management tools. He has an MS from University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign and an MBA from IIM Bangalore. So Chetan has over 20 years of industry experience at companies like Honeywell, Philips, and Cisco, and holds 3 patents in different technologies. And Chetan's expertise has a very strong expertise in cybersecurity and compliance, and he's been instrumental in the success of SecnSure Technologies and SecnSure's De-Risk Center. Which has been accolades such as most innovative cybersecurity startup in 2021 and emerged 50 in 2023. So Chetan is known for his strategic vision and initiative approach, and contributes significantly to this to our Indian cybersecurity product ecosystem. So welcome, Chetan, again to today's discussion, and it's such an interesting panel we have today. The moderator for today's discussion is Mr. Georgie. Georgie, I will give the floor to you from here on. So I would love to hear your thoughts and all of your thoughts on where the industry is heading and what we need to be ready with. So Georgie, over to you.
Thank you so much, Data Security Council of India, for providing this platform, and to the ever cheerful Teja for the generous introduction. I feel humbled as well as honored to be part of this panel, like along with Dr. Dittin and Chetan. The topic is a bit a serious one, but definitely a good start that we have. So, as I started my career with Keltron, like almost two plus decades back, and when we all started our career, the IT and cybersecurity, like what we used to worry is, okay, anything which is outside our network. So we used to be very happy and comfortable on anything within our network, within our organization, within our own managed devices. And over these years, the scenario has completely changed. Organizations started talking to each other. People started connecting remotely. And the initial comfort of being confined to organizations' own devices have changed a lot. And the systems have started becoming more and more interconnected, transactional, and well connected, even when we take the case of enterprises as well as the governance infrastructure. So we have seen the cybersecurity landscape changing a lot. What we used to worry 2 decades back are not those issues that we are worried now. Now we are worried more about, like, again, in between. Okay, we started worrying about the attacks which were driven by AI and related. And now it is much more. And keeping pace with the changes in the scenario, threat landscape, and catching up with the adversaries. At the same time, ensuring that we have the right controls in place from a technology as well as the GRC perspective is very important for organizations. So I've seen that the perception changing a lot. Like, the security used to be a backroom function long back. Now it is more of a boardroom function, where the security is now a core element of the boardroom, deciding the future and sustenance of organizations. I have with me Dr. Dittin, who has had a lot of initiative from the C-DAC in terms of evaluating cybersecurity stature of various government and quasi-government organizations, as well as enterprises. So I would like to hear from the panelists on their thoughts on the emerging landscape. I would like to start with Dr. Dittin. Like, if you can start with sharing what you see as the most pressing cybersecurity threats faced by enterprises nowadays and how it has emerged. I think that'll give a good start to the conversation.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Georgie, Chetan, Teja, and all the participants. Thank you, Georgie, for the introductory remarks. Okay, with respect to the question or whatever that discussion point Georgie has put across, as an introductory remark, we all know that a lot of revolutions has happened for the enterprises across domain. It can be various government, fintech, even healthcare. Revolutions has happened thanks to the digital age. Technologies, I would like to say, like cloud computing, now enables access to various computer resources on demand, allowing for greater scalability and flexibility. Then comes mobile technologies, which empower workforces to have collaborations and connect with customers from anywhere across the globe. Then obviously Internet, IoT, Internet of Things, IoT, which allows to connect devices, generating what I can say, generating valuable data that can be used for a lot of improvisation related to operations as well as decision making. However, with all this, of course, I don't need to specifically say about AI, ML, and other things, but with all those advancements, an increased risk of cyber attacks are also coming into place. As you all know, while digital age is offering numerous benefits, significant, it also giving way for presenting a lot of security challenges. Listing a few, I would start with the familiar, whatever that malicious softwares like malwares are there, which are disrupting the normal operations, or stealing data, or rendering systems in an unusable way. Then a lot of phishing scams are there, which are becoming a constant threat, wherein a lot of cyber criminals are attempting to trick users into compromising sensitive information. Then ransomware attacks, which encrypts critical data. As you know, millions of cases have been reported in India as well as in all the countries demanding for a ransom payment for the release of data. Then data breaches even can have devastating consequences, or what I can say, major setbacks, leading to financial losses, reputational damage, or even huge regulatory fines are also coming into picture. So, coming to the discussion point of today's discussions, or the question raised by Georgie, I can put out several key challenges that confront enterprises. So I can say, as they endeavor to secure their digital infrastructure and assets. I would like to start with cyber threat sophistication, because nowadays cyber criminals are more edge compared to the industry, or the so-called cyber security analyst, or cyber security professionals who are doing in a professional way. Cyber criminals, they have leveraged advanced techniques such as zero-day exploits, or polymorphic malware. Then now AI itself has been coming into picture, and AI-driven attacks to circumvent some kind of traditional security measures and evade detection. Now, the next challenge which I see is related to cloud security risk, which has to be addressed in a positive way or proactive way. As you all know, the widespread adoption of cloud computing, in fact, introduced a lot of new security risk, including data breaches, then misconfigurations, or and insider threats. So organizations, especially in Indian, including government or public or private industries, they have to think and adopt, or would say, I would say, we have to implement some kind of comprehensive cloud security strategies to mitigate this risk in an effective and efficient way. The next point which I would like to focus is related to IoT security challenges, wherein we all know that proliferation of IoT devices are introducing lot of new attack vectors and vulnerabilities, expanding potential surface area for cyber attacks, and amplifying the complexity of security management. And obviously, I have mentioned about ransomware and extortions like that. Ransomware attacks have been emerged as a what I can say, pervasive threat, wherein criminals, obviously cyber criminals, are increasingly targeting businesses of all size. It can be a small cap, mid cap, or large cap. Also, with ransomware as a service offering is available, and there are a lot of sophisticated extortion tactics are available. The next major challenge or point I would like to count on related to enterprise security is, the major thing is insider threats and human factor. Insider threats, obviously, whether it is malicious or unintentional, always posing a significant risk to the enterprise security. And even if you are talking about the various stakeholders like employees, whatever that organization sits on, employees, contractors, or business partners, they are may inadvertently compromising sensitive data, or intentionally engage in a lot of malicious activities. Then comes what I want to say is related to the supply chain vulnerabilities. That is the, in my personal opinion, as well as the whatever that other experience and interaction with various organizations and firm, I feel that supply chain vulnerabilities are playing a crucial role. Basically, this supply chain attacks, where adversaries may target third-party vendors or suppliers for gaining access to the target, what I can say, our own organization systems, highlight the interconnected nature of our own modern business ecosystem. So there is a pressing need for addressing this kind of robust supply chain security related attack. And last but not the least, I would count remote workforce is again a challenging aspect, especially with the rise of a remote workspace. Normally expands attack surface as employees access corporate data and systems from various locations and devices. Also, it is actually necessitating some kind of robust endpoint security measures has to be improved and implemented, and secure remote access protocols are very much essential. Okay, I would just add one more point, and I will stop. That is related to. I just wanted to touch upon even the data privacy and compliance related challenges has also to be addressed along with this requirement, as stricter data privacy regulations, including in India. We are having a DPDP Act 2023, and European Union's general data protection regulation. They are all imposing significant compliance requirements on enterprise, and that obviously necessitating robust, what I can say, data protection measures and regulatory compliance program. Yeah, that is from my side to start with.
Thank you, Dr. Dittin. In fact, very relevant and expressive points there. And as you rightly said, like what we understand from your points is, in a nutshell, technology has evolved a lot, but always the adversaries have an edge from those who have who are targeting to protect it. So we are always at a race between new threats coming into the scenario and how we address it. And another key point that you have mentioned is the criticality of supply chain risk management. At this juncture, we are sitting at a point where organizations do not have complete visibility on the various interfaces or exchanges, as well as various supply chain elements with which they have a dependency. And there are numerous ways in which those can be exploited. Yep, that's a key critical area many organizations are failing. Thank you so much. And Mr. Chetan, from a GRC perspective, like we heard from Dr. Dittin about the emerging new threats, but from a GRC perspective, how do you think organizations can strategically align their GRC program to address these type of issues?
Great. Thank you for having me here. It's an honor and pleasure to be here amongst this August audience. Very well covered starting points. I think very well laid out. For this whole the next 45 minutes. I think the topic for today is about Indian enterprises. How do you counter the emerging threats and also proactive defenses? I would just like to add there is nothing about Indian enterprises. The globe, the world is a flat world now. So whatever threats and we are facing is being faced by everyone, and what is being faced by others is also being faced by us. So how do we counter that? How do we understand that? Some of the ones that Dr. Dittin mentioned is the AI/ML, which is coming up in a big way now. IoT is another aspect which is there. And I think COVID exacerbated a lot of these things as well. Cloud adoption was not happening much earlier to that. It was a taboo for many organizations, but then we saw that it was embraced in a big way post-COVID. And after OpenAI has come out, I think AI/ML is everywhere now. It's like a commodity which is being used. And also the shadow IT which is there in the organizations. So while we understand that, then this is going to go on, right? It's not like this is the end. There are going to be new technologies, there are going to be new threats. It's an ongoing basis. The approach from the organizations to how do you protect yourself would be probably the same. The basic elements would be same. Start from the top, understand from a GRC perspective, right? The governance, risk, and the compliance aspect, if you see. From a governance point of view, does the top level in the company, the board and the management, do they understand this one? Do they take cognizance of this? And then are they party to this, right? So it starts from the top. Formulating policies, understand what your business is first, and then formulating policies accordingly to say that, how do we encounter it? What are the steps that we take? And who's responsible for what? And the buck stops at the top, and then it starts going down in the organization. Other one, which was also mentioned earlier on, is from the regulations point of view as well. There is a lot of activity that is happening in India. It was not much regulated earlier. Only BFSI was regulated. Even today, BFSI is mostly regulated by RBI, SEBI, IRDA, and so on. But we also see the DPDP Act, which is coming in now, which means that everyone is going to be affected because of this. And privacy is a big thing. So the organizations have to start understanding. If you see today how they are looking at things, they're taking things for granted, right? You ask for a lot of data and collect a lot of data and so on. So you need to understand, what your role is, what your responsibility is, and how do you treat your customers' data. And also knowing things like, whether you're a controller or whether you're owner of this data, what your responsibilities are, where does it lie, and so on. The other aspect, which is also very important, is it's a very tightly knit kind of ecosystems today, where you're depending upon a lot of your vendors, your ecosystem to achieve your final goal. So vendor and third-party risk management also becomes important to see how your vendors are, because they cannot be a weak link in your whole chain. So how do you look at those things as well? From a risk management, again, the concepts are the same of how you to do it earlier, but understanding that you have new threats now. How do you understand threats? How you do your risk management program in your organization itself, in cognizance of knowing what the new threats are, and also knowing what not only the weaknesses that you have, not only the vulnerabilities that you have in all the technologies that you're using, but also knowing what is the risk that is emanating from those technologies, because the more opportunities you have, also you have risks along with that. So knowing what the risks are and trying to address those risks and managing the risk in the organizations becomes very important. From a compliance point of view, again, it's not only the regulatory, it's not only the security aspects, but also privacy aspects is becoming important, and a continuous monitoring is required going forward. What we used to see was the compliance activity was once in a year activity and so on. There's nothing like point in time security, right? Continuous security need to be continuous. It's an ongoing one. So while you have your risk management programs, start transitioning them to a continuous kind of model. At the same time, even your compliance monitoring should be happening on a continuous way. Rest of the things, I would say, understand that your organization moves faster than yourself. The security people are always kind of reacting to that. The AI and so on, the models are adopted by the organizations, because to stay in business and to thrive in your business, you have to do that. While doing that, I think it's more challenge for the security folks in the organization to understand that and not stop that, because you have to embrace it, but see of how you can live with it, and also look at how you can have some of these security measures for that. So yeah, I think is to look at overall, have your sound practices, but keep aware of the new threats that is emerging, and how you can counter that, and how you can have your policies aligned towards your business, and also take cognizance of all these new threats. That I would say from a GRC perspective, that is important.
Absolutely, sir. And as you rightly said, security compliance and risk assessment is no longer a once in a year activity or a periodic activity. It has to be embedded into the organization's DNA. It has to be there 24/7, 365 days, because new risks emerge, and the organization has to be always at the toes to ensure that the GRC is equipped to catch it, manage it, and ensure the compliance aspect. Thank you so much. Yeah, the adversaries are advancing a lot. New threat scenarios are emerging. The technology is also getting advanced to ensure, and there are more and more ways to mitigate or address these risks. But yeah, even security events and incidents are bound to happen. So from a cyber attack perspective, Dr. Dittin, what are your thoughts on the effective strategies that organizations are adopting or should be adopting to enhance their resilience against these type of attacks? Like attacks are bound to happen. Like how they should equip themselves to be prepared.
Yeah. Enhancing resilience against cyber attack is critical for any enterprise, irrespective of domain, for protecting their data, then maintaining their operations as well as safeguarding their reputation. So effective incident response strategies can obviously significantly bolster any organization's ability for handling cyber threats. Sorry. So see, enterprise can fortify their defenses against cyber attacks by incorporating several key incident response strategies. I would like to say, to start with, the preparation is the key point. See, without any preparation, we cannot go forward. To start with, an incident response plan, developing a what I can say well-defined plan outlining the steps for identification, then containment, eradication, and recovery from the incident. The plan should be in such a way that it should assign what I can say clear roles and responsibilities for each team member involved in the response. Then also preparation is important. Additionally, we should be having a regular review and update of the plan for which for reflecting the evolving threats and technologies. Then employee training is again a crucial thing where we need to have mechanisms for educating the employees on cybersecurity best practices, including identification of phishing attempts or reporting any suspicious activity and following some kind of secure password protocols. So for this kind of thing, regular training will always equip employees to recognize and respond to potential threats. Now, from the preparedness part, the next is for any organization, what I can say, establishing a dedicated incident response team or IRT is crucial. When we are talking about the team, it should be a cross-functional team. It need not be, we cannot isolate that security or incident response team as a separate team. We have to include members from IT, security, even from legal, then what I can say, communications. Top management is also, so that we can ensure some kind of holistic response team. Then training and drills are also important, at least once in a periodic way, some kind of regular training as well as simulation exercise, like what I can say, tabletop exercise, to ensure that a team is prepared to respond in an effective way. So next comes what as a strategic point, implementation of proactive detection and analysis. We should be having sufficient inclusion of technology into this ecosystem, such that for monitoring is always important. We advanced threat detection tools and 24/7 monitoring is very much essential. See, usage of tools like SIM, security information and event management systems, then intrusion detection systems or prevention system, then endpoint detection and response like EDR tools for monitoring network traffic and detecting anomalies. Then implementing information and event management system in such a way that continuously or 24/7, 365 monitoring is happening for network activities, and that might indicate an attack. So what happens is that many organizations have spent on the technologies, but there may not be having that seriousness given to only on the working days. Monitorings will be happening. As always, attackers normally work on holidays where we are taking rest. So next comes important thing from the strategical point of view is that we should be having a kind of good threat intelligence feed or system wherein staying informed about the current cyber threats and vulnerabilities by subscribing to threat intelligence feeds, or even from government machineries like CERTIN or any other whatever that organizations, is very much essential. Organization should have that plan and vision to have that kind of threat intelligence in place. Always threat intelligence, what I can say, will help or allows for proactive identification of potential risk. So other important aspect I would like to cover is like developing and enforcing security policy is also important. See, without the basic development, whatever that security policies in place, if you are going for any 24/7 monitoring also, it will not be having any help or support to the organization. So proper access control should be there. We should be having some kind of strict access controls implemented, especially that the principle of least privileges, then ensuring that employees have access only to the resources necessary for their roles. Then need for regular audit, that also has to be in practice. We should be having a focus on strategic plans for regular security audits and vulnerability assessment, so that all the issues can be identified in a timely way and address any potential weakness. Again, I have focused on the training part. Regular training and awareness programs are required, like with some focus on including some kind of phishing simulations, or how to report some kind of suspicious activities, with some case studies has to be included, and that trainings has to happen in a regular way. See, like for example, phishing simulation, running some regular phishing simulations for testing and improving employee readiness. Then from the strategic point of view, other thing important thing which I am thinking is, and even in fact it is required to implement a strong backup and recovery process. See, nowadays lot of ransomware or similar attacks are happening. We should be having regular backups, so that critical data are regularly backed up and stored in a secure whatever that so that business continuity plan is in place. Then recovery drills also has to be made as a practice, so that it will conducted or carried out in a periodic way. And final and foremost important is developing a communication plan, because nowadays what happens is that whenever some security incidents are getting happen, we are normally organizations have a tendency to hide, and it is not communicated properly. So in this aspect, that any organization should be having some kind of communications. It has to be internal communication as well as external communication is important. A clear and effective communication channels within the organization, so that it will get reported to the top management and all the levels across vertical or in horizontal, that information has to be passed. Then external communication is also important. We should be having proper templates and strategies for communicating with various stakeholders. Even our customers also need to be informed that some kind of incident has happened which may impact their data and all. And even to the media is also important, because that learnings or whatever the news which is coming through this kind of communication will play a crucial role. And collaboration with external parties, even third party experts. Always organization should be having a policy in adopting the service, or at least they should be having some regular establishment of whatever the relationship has to be established with cyber security firms, cyber or legal or IT experts, legal advisors, and other third party experts who can intervene and support them in an incident. See, once that has to be in our strategy. After an incident occurred, we cannot go and search for finding some kind of supporting people. Then information whatever that sharing is also important. That can be even sector specific. Now in India itself, that banking sector or finance sector, they are having lot of platforms, similar interest groups are there. Similarly, it has to be developed for power sector, health, and telecom, so that sharing and receiving information about the threats and vulnerabilities can happen. And finally, that strategic or plan should have the proper mechanism for containment, eradication, and recovery, proper disaster recovery plan should be in place for restoring the critical systems. And post-incident activity is also important, because always learning from the lessons is important. We should be having a mechanism or in the strategy in such a way that a post-mortem analysis has to be conducted on the incident, so that weakness in our own systems can be in our own defense process or can be identified, and we can identify them areas for improvement. And we have to use this kind of learning for updating our own incident response plan. And finally, reporting mechanism. I have indirectly mentioned we should be having mechanism for reporting cyber incidents to various authorities like certain NCIPC, or as required by law or regulation, like for banking, RBI is there, for telecom, TRAI is there, SEBI is there, like that. So coming to the last points, anyway, Chetan has covered that compliance and legal preparedness also has to be included in the incident response plan. Regulatory requirements has to be complied in a proper way in our incident response plan. But I think by implementing these strategies, any enterprise can, whether in private or public, they can significantly improve their ability for responding to cyber attack, minimizing the damage, and recovering from the incident in a quicker and swift way. Okay, yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dittin. In fact, very valid points, and I would place another component, which is a very basic and fundamental aspect, which many organizations misses on having a proper inventory management.
Right.
Because when it comes to the coverage of all the security event monitoring tools, not having a complete inventory and visibility on the type of devices, type of IP, like the list of IP addresses, the applications, the different type of individuals who have an influence on the organization cybersecurity stature is something which, and as you rightly said, communication. Yes, now with almost all organizations and industries being interconnected, having the communication process in place, equipped with the right technology, is very important. Like for example, a breach in a small bank can have ripple effects across the industry, across the economy of the organization, of the country in a couple of years. So definitely very important to have that. Thank you so much. And Mr. Chetan, like when we say cybersecurity, like now I feel that when we say cybersecurity, it is more aligned to the technology aspects, but definitely GRC is a critical element. So how do you think the evolution of the role of GRC in building the cybersecurity framework for the business, like from a cybersecurity perspective, the role of GRC?
Yeah. Yeah, Dr. Dittin covered a lot, A to Z of cybersecurity, right? Of the emerging threats and also the responses and what the organization should do. I will give a little bit of GRC flavor to it. I already spoke about how organizations should start look at the GRC programs. From what they should do earlier to now, I think it's needless to say they should adopt the compliance more in terms of letter and spirit, and not just the letter of what is written in the compliance. There's a lot of difference between the two, and the organizations doing that to the spirit of the compliance will definitely see improvements in their overall security posture. When we talked about all the technologies and so on, I would also say that start looking at some frameworks to see that there is no gaps and holes in what you implement, because you can have a lot of point products inside the organization, but you don't know where the cracks are finally. So if you have a framework, an overarching framework, again, you can use any of the frameworks. What I would start looking at is like an IPDRR, right, which is identify, protect, then you detect, then you respond and recover. That's typically how the cybersecurity measures are in place. And going by the recent trends, it is better for the organizations to start shifting left over here, which is if you can do more of identify and protect, you have to do less of detect, right, and then respond and recover. So if you're doing your identify and protect well, there are less chances and less scope that will get into incidents and so on. You will still have incidents. There's nothing like 100% security, but you can start investing less into those. Just by statistics, you see that the known kind of vulnerabilities will impact 99% or plus of the organizations than the less than 0.5% of the zero-day incidents which is affecting the organization. So where does your priorities lie? So that is a little bit at a higher level. From a GRC perspective, again, it comes down to do you have like a sound governance going on in the organization? Today, the board is involved. So if the board is involved, the earlier days used to be starting to look at cybersecurity as technical issues. That's no more the case now. You need to start relying of what is the posture to the board. You can't tell that I have 100 issues, but what those issues mean. To start talking in a language that the board understands, and the board can start also helping you, right? It is not that when an incident happens that you get fired for it. But before the incident happens itself, can you tell exactly what is my posture in the organization, what is the risk that I'm facing, and what we need to do, and where we want to be as part of our risk tolerance levels inside the organization? That is a good and useful conversation to have with the board, and then you can decide along with them of where you want to be. So be a business enabler than just telling that we can't do this or we can't do that because of security issues in the organization. And definitely it has to be made a lot more often more continuous going forward, both from a risk, understanding the risks in the organization because it's ever changing. You can be doing all the right things, your risk posture will be good, but the outside events that is happening, the new threats that are emerging will actually cause or may have risk for your organizations as well. So how do you understand that? By continuously looking at threat intelligence, understanding the threat intelligence, and seeing that if you have weaknesses in your organization as well, and how do you respond to that in a timely fashion. That is from there. And also from a regulatory perspective, it is very fast changing now. If you see in the recent times that we have seen, the regulation also keeps changing fast. If you see almost every 3 months, you have circulars coming out from the regulators saying that what the organizations need to do. So you need to be aware of those and respond similarly to that. And recent regulation also by RBI is that, you have to do so many things. It is also important that you start having tools to do this and start automating your process to do this. It is not a human work anymore. Your adversaries are all automated, so you cannot be responding in a human fashion over here. So you need to have all the automation in place as well. And then going forward, that is going to be the norm of how much you can automate, how much you can respond, and how much you can use the technologies to your favor as well. AI is going to be a big helper for you. As much as the adversaries is using it, you can also use it for your own good as well. So this is some of the ways that an organization should start thinking in terms of GRC to effectively help the organization move forward in their own business goals.
Thank you so much, sir. In fact, like as you rightly said, the evolution in technology and all this automation which is happening has got the pros and like the positive side as well as negative, because adversaries are also leveraging on all these technologies for launching new type of attacks. And Dittin, from your experience from a SOC as well as security operations center as well as security management perspective, how do you think the new the adoption of the adoption of new technologies is helping organizations cope up with the emergence of new threats? And as an addition to that, if you can share your thoughts on what do you see as the future trends in cybersecurity in the next 5 years from your visibility perspective, that will be helpful.
Okay, from what I can say now, with the introduction of AML tools and all, lot of changes obviously will happen. But considering the future angle, what I would say is that emerging trends, obviously I would mention the zero trust security model will play the crucial role, like traditional perimeter based security systems, assuming that trust within the network and focusing on defense at the network edge. Zero trust, obviously, however, that no inherent trust concept, and it may verify every user or any device trying to access resources, regardless of location. And again, continuous verification, some kind of implementing continuous verification of users or device entities, like employing multi-factor authentication and real-time risk assessment has also to be taken care. And we are all talking about AI, ML and all. The next few years, not few years, coming years will be of AI-powered security solutions. So AI and machine learning will definitely play an even greater role in security operations. I think that will be the major area where AI and ML can play the crucial role. So we can expect some more sophisticated AI-powered solutions for threat detection, incident response, and even vulnerability management also. Okay, as always, even focusing on supply chain security is the next focus area. Cyber attackers are targeting third-party vendors and suppliers.
Okay.
I think we lost Dr. Dittin. That is an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
So by the time Dr. Dittin joins, Mr. Chetan, if you can share your thoughts on what you see as the future trends in terms of, okay, what used to be like a too-much security 20 years back is now a norm. So what do you think is like a proactive defense mechanism, which will become more like a standard in the next 5 years?
Yeah, good question. We are not oracles, so we don't see the future.
Yep.
We can only react to the future. What was, I think, a few years back, security has drastically changed now. I think the main point over here is to understand, at least from now, what we can see into the future is whatever Dr. Dittin was mentioning, right? AML is there, here to stay. So accept it and then see how to counter it, because there are a lot of challenges there from a security point of view. And that is definitely one. In terms of privacy as well, I think there's a lot more happening on the privacy front now. Data proliferation is happening a lot as well. So privacy enhancing technology is something that is going to be there. The nation is going to embrace privacy in a bigger way. I think it's very nascent now, and understanding of what privacy is also very less from a country point of view. That is going to change a lot, because of which we require a lot more technologies to come in, step up and help us achieve those. DPDP is one probably a trigger towards that, but a lot more has to happen in that space. Cloud is there for some time, but still a lot of companies are moving to the cloud. When we talk to organizations, we've heard two kinds of views when they talk about the cloud. One is, cloud is not secure at all, so I'm happy having everything on premise. The second set of companies say that we're all secure because we are in the cloud. Understand that both are not true, both are misconceptions, right? It's a shared responsibility. So understand that of where does the responsibility of the service provider stops and where does your responsibility start. It's better to understand that and then move forward. IoT is again going to be another one which is going to be there. IoT devices are inherently less secure because of low power consumption and so on. That is something that we have to start looking as well. And of course, start looking at risk management, right, in a ways that you can start looking at new threats that is there. Also understand the new threats, like Doctor was mentioning. Subscribe to a lot more threat intel sources. Understand where the threats are coming from, how it's going to affect your organization. So be prepared in that way, right? Whatever technology that is coming in, if you have the right responses to them, I think you're in a better shape than the rest.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chetan. In fact, that's a very valid point. And again, as you rightly said, we are not oracles, but like seeing the way the technology is advancing, how the adversaries are advancing, and all those things. Definitely, like what we think is over security now, human security now is going to be a norm going forward. Very good point, and very good and valid point. Do we have any question from the audience, Teja?
I think there's one that he's posted, right?
Yes, so there's one question from Dr. Sharath. So, Dr. Sharath, thanks for all the panelists to start with for an insightful discussion. This question is for Dr. Dittin. Dr. Dittin, essentially, Dr. Sharath is requesting your comment on which framework is more effective at an enterprise level. Is it NIST or CIS controls or ISO 27000 or any others? So, can you shed
Okay.
some light on which one is your recommendation?
Yeah, whatever, if I am saying from the Indian context, I would say most of our organizations have implemented security controls from based on the CIS controls, because somehow, or even if we are looking into that RBI or any regulatory framework, most of them, whatever that regulatory guidelines have been framed with CIS controls in place or in mind. And but anyway, there are it may not be having much difference in the whatever that things to be covered, but still CIS controls, they have organized all the whatever that points under application systems and networks. Even NIST is also having the same thing. But from my whatever that interactions with various organizations, everywhere they are following, especially in the Indian side, most of the companies have framed their policies based on the CIS controls. I think Georgie or Chetan can add on that one on their experience.
Yeah, I think just adding to what Doctor said, the 27001 is more prevalent in the Asia side of the world and Europe. NIST is more adopted towards North America. And 27001 is more generic ISMS. It is good to have. It encompasses a lot of security measures that any kind of organization can have. It is more generic. It can be small or big or across different sectors. It can be implemented. And if you see from the specific sectoral ones, like if you have an RBI or a SEBI guidelines and so on, they are very specific to that particular sector. What it means is that if it is going to be a bank and RBI has got some controls over there, then knowing how the bank operates, right? You have applications, so can you call out what the critical applications are, what not so critical applications, what measures you've taken? So it's going to be specific for that particular sector. But it is always good to have a framework. ISMS 27001 is good. CIS, again, like Doctor said, it's being used by a lot of organizations. You see, has got a lot of benchmarks for servers, for cloud and so on. It is specific benchmarks that you have. Then you start looking at specific, sectoral ones or based on your need. So you have privacy ones specifically that you can adopt one and so on. And if you are in, gateway provider, then you have a different kind of one. Then you have a SOC 2 if you're a service provider on the cloud and so on. So again, it depends upon your need. But it's still good to have a 27001 as a broad-based ISMS for the organization.
Just adding to that, my organization helps in implementation of all these standards. But at the same time, personally, I'm a fan of ISO 27001 because the beauty is being more generic and comprehensive. That helps the organization to define the security management system aligned to the specific risk context of the organization, whether it's a government organization or a private organization, irrespective of the sector. But at the same time, whether it is NIST, CIS or ISO 27001, if the implementation is done with the right understanding of the standard comprehensively, that addresses the requirement, that helps the organization build it. So irrespective of whether which standard the organization is adopting, once it is decided or along with the implementation, we have to ensure that we understand that correctly and implement that with the in the right manner, understanding properly. So that includes the management systems, the administrative, technical, as well as the physical, all those controls together. So just to add, just wanted to add to that. Teja, do we have any other interactions or questions? Or
not at the moment. I think we can conclude. Georgie, you can just quickly conclude and then I'll give you a vote of thanks.
Sure. As we started the discussion, as I said, this was a very interesting conversation, hearing from Dr. Dittin and Mr. Chetan, as well as the right question which came up in between on what they see as the current security landscape, the different changes, how it is emerging, the various strategies and implementations are needed. Dr. Dittin, in fact, covered a spectrum of controls, starting from the technology aspect till the covering the the supply chain risk management, the monitoring aspects, the communication aspects, and everything. And Mr. Chetan rightly added the GRC flair to it. And organizations definitely need to balance between the GRC, the requirements mandated by all those different standards together, to ensure that the organizations are understanding the emerging new threats, sharpening their arsenal, ensuring that the controls are tuned and aligned to help the organization mitigate the emerging threats and help them. Like, the cybersecurity is no longer a backstage function; it is now a critical element to in ensuring that the organization sustains. The business sustenance and prosperity is always dependent on cybersecurity. So, thank you so much for the valuable input from the panelists and for the good question. And once again, thank you so much, DSA, for giving the stage.
Yeah, thank you,
It's
Georgie,
always
Teja, Chetan, and also DSCI for giving this platform. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
thank you. And I
So
think we got to learn something from the fellow panelists. And thanks to DSCF organizers. Hopefully, the webinar helped improve the security posture of the country a little. And I would say, if you have any questions, if you think that we can answer that, please reach out to us. You can contact Teja and he will connect us with you.
sure. Thanks, Georgie, and thanks, Dittin, and thanks, Chetan. Georgie, thank you so much personally for driving this, and I personally learned a lot. We've covered essentially such a broad topic in such a short period of time, and thank you, Dr. Dittin and Chetan, for all your inputs. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. All have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.